The grit was everywhere. It coated my tongue, scratched at my eyelids, and settled deep within the creases of my skin, a second, unwelcome hide. The sun, a malevolent eye in the vast, indifferent sky, beat down with relentless fury. Each breath felt like swallowing fire, each movement an act of defiance against the oppressive weight of the heat. My shadow, a distorted, elongated twin, offered the only company in this desolate landscape. I hadn't seen another living thing, not even a scavenging vulture, for what felt like an eternity. Just the endless, undulating dunes stretching to the horizon, a sea of sand promising only thirst and despair. The silence was profound, broken only by the whisper of the wind as it snaked across the dunes, a mournful song of emptiness. It carried with it the faint, phantom scent of rain, a cruel reminder of a world that felt impossibly distant. My lips were cracked and bleeding, my throat a parched wasteland. The leather canteen, once heavy with hope, now swung uselessly against my hip, a mocking testament to my dwindling chances. Hope, I realized, was a dangerous luxury out here. It painted mirages on the horizon, whispered promises of rescue in the wind, and prolonged the inevitable agony. Better to embrace the harsh reality, to accept the desert's indifference, to become one with the unforgiving landscape. But even as I tried to steel myself, a flicker of defiance remained, a stubborn ember refusing to be extinguished. The memory of her smile, the sound of her laughter, the feel of her hand in mine, these were the anchors that held me to the world, the reasons I couldn't surrender to the sand. Her name was Alara. It meant, Shining One. And that's exactly what she was. A beacon in the darkness, a source of warmth and light in a world often shrouded in shadows. We met in the most unlikely of places, a dusty, forgotten bookstore tucked away on a quiet side street. I was searching for a rare edition of The Odyssey, lost in the labyrinthine aisles, when I bumped into her, sending a cascade of books tumbling to the floor. She laughed, a melodic sound that instantly captivated me, and we spent the next hour picking up the fallen volumes, discovering a shared love for literature and a surprising connection that transcended the printed page. We talked for hours that first day, oblivious to the passing time, lost in a world of shared dreams and whispered secrets. She told me about her passion for astronomy, her fascination with the stars, her belief that there was something greater out there waiting to be discovered. I told her about my own restless spirit, my yearning for adventure, my desire to push the boundaries of my own limitations. We were opposites in many ways. I was drawn to the earth, to the tangible, the concrete. She was drawn to the heavens, to the ethereal, the infinite. But somehow, our differences complemented each other, creating a harmony that resonated deep within our souls. She grounded me, reminding me to appreciate the beauty of the present moment. I inspired her, encouraging her to chase her dreams, to reach for the stars. Our relationship blossomed amidst stolen moments and whispered promises. We explored hidden corners of the city, shared picnics in sun-drenched parks, and spent countless nights gazing at the stars, tracing constellations with our fingers and weaving stories among the celestial tapestry. With Alara, even the most mundane moments felt extraordinary, infused with a sense of magic and wonder. She had a way of seeing the world that was both childlike and profound, a perspective that challenged me to look beyond the surface, to see the hidden beauty in everything. It was Alara who first ignited my fascination with the desert. She had read countless books about its mysteries, its dangers, and its stark, unforgiving beauty. She spoke of the nomadic tribes who had mastered the art of survival in this harsh environment, of the hidden oases that shimmered like jewels in the sand, of the profound sense of solitude and self-discovery that could be found in the vast, empty spaces. It was her stories that planted the seed of adventure in my heart, the seed that would eventually lead me to this desolate place, to this desperate struggle for survival. The sun beat down, each ray a tiny hammer blow against Elias's skull. He focused on the shifting sand, on the agonizingly slow rhythm of his legs, anything to avoid thinking about the burning in his throat. Sergeant Miller's words echoed in his mind, asterisk. The desert doesn't care if you're thirsty. It doesn't care if you're scared. It just is. And it will kill you if you let it. Asterisk. He pictured Sarah's face, her worried eyes as he boarded the bus. He'd promised her he'd be careful. He'd promised he'd come home. Now, that promise felt like another grain of sand, slipping through his fingers, lost to the unforgiving heat. He stumbled, his knee hitting the ground with a jolt. The world swam for a moment, blurring the already indistinct horizon. He pushed himself back up, ignoring the sharp pain radiating from his knee. He couldn't stop. He wouldn't stop. Not for the thirst, not for the pain, not for the creeping despair that threatened to engulf him. He had to make it. Then, he saw him. Private Davies. Collapsed, a crumpled heap against a dune, his eyes glazed over. Elias lurched towards him, his own legs screaming in protest. He knelt beside Davies, shaking him gently. "Davies! Davies, wake up!" Davies groaned, his eyes fluttering open. "Water!" he croaked, his voice barely a whisper. Elias looked around, desperately searching for any sign of help, any glimmer of hope. But there was nothing. Only the endless expanse of sand and the relentless sun. He knew what he had to do. He knew the rules. He knew the consequences. But he couldn't leave Davies. He just couldn't. He reached into his pack, his hand trembling as he pulled out his canteen. It was half full, a meager amount, but it was all he had. He hesitated for a moment, the weight of his decision pressing down on him. He could share it with Davies, maybe give him a fighting chance. Or he could keep it, conserve his strength, and try to make it to the extraction point himself. Survival dictated the latter. His humanity screamed the former. He uncapped the canteen and held it to Davies' lips. The private drank greedily, gulping down the precious liquid as if it were the elixir of life. Elias watched, his own thirst intensifying with each swallow. He knew he was sealing his own fate. He knew he was sacrificing himself. But he couldn't bear the thought of leaving Davies to die alone in the sand. When the canteen was empty, Davies looked at him, a flicker of gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you," he whispered. Elias managed a weak smile. Just get some rest," he said, his voice hoarse. He knew Davies wouldn't make it. Not in this heat, not in this condition. But he needed to believe, even if just for a little while, that there was still hope. He sat beside Davies, shielding him from the worst of the sun, his own body slowly shutting down. The desert had won. The rescue team found them both the next morning. Davies was delirious, but alive. Elias was unconscious, his body severely dehydrated. He spent days in the infirmary, his mind haunted by the memory of Davies' grateful eyes, the empty canteen, and the burning, all-consuming thirst. He had followed his heart, not his training. He had chosen compassion over survival. And he had nearly paid the ultimate price. The nightmares still come, even now. The endless sand, the scorching sun, the desperate plea for water. He wakes up in a cold sweat, his throat parched, his heart pounding in his chest. Sarah is there, always there, her arms around him, whispering words of comfort. But even her touch can't erase the memory of that day, the day he stared death in the face and chose to share his last drop of water. He carries the weight of that decision with him, a constant reminder of his humanity, his weakness, his near-fatal act of kindness. He sees it in the mirror, in the lines etched around his eyes, the premature gray in his hair. He hears it in the silence, in the moments when the world fades away and he's left alone with his thoughts. He tried to visit Davies after he recovered, but the private had been transferred to another unit, another base. Elias never saw him again. He often wonders what happened to him, if he remembers that day in the desert, if he ever thinks about the man who gave him his last chance. He wonders if Davies understands the magnitude of the sacrifice, the cost of his survival. He still works as a mechanic, his hands calloused and scarred from years of labor. He avoids the sun whenever possible, seeking refuge in the shadows, in the cool darkness of his garage. The desert is a ghost that haunts him, a constant reminder of his mortality, his vulnerability. Sarah tries to understand, but she can't. She wasn't there. She didn't feel the heat, the thirst, the crushing weight of responsibility. She didn't see the desperation in Davy's eyes, the silent plea for help. She only sees the man who came back, the man who is still here, the man she loves. He loves her too, fiercely and deeply. But he knows that a part of him will always be buried in the sand, lost to the unforgiving heat of the desert. A part of him will always be thirsty, always be searching for that elusive drop of water, that fleeting moment of grace. A part of him will always be haunted by the memory of that day, the day he learned the true meaning of survival, the day he almost died for a stranger. And in the quiet moments, when the world is still and the memories resurface, he wonders if he made the right choice. He wonders if it was worth it. He wonders if he would do it again. The sun, a molten eye, finally dipped below the jagged horizon, painting the dunes in hues of blood orange and bruised purple. Exhaustion clung to me like a second skin, each breath a ragged prayer. I knelt beside the small cairn I'd built, the stones cool against my burning palms. It marked the spot where I'd buried the canteen, the symbol of my self-imposed torment, and the point of my rebirth. A low hum vibrated through the sand, growing steadily louder. I squinted, shielding my eyes. In the distance, a dust cloud billowed, resolving into the familiar shape of the transport vehicle. Relief, sharp and immediate, threatened to buckle my knees. But there was something else, too, a profound sense of peace I hadn't known existed. The vehicle screeched to a halt, kicking up a fresh wave of sand. Sergeant Major Reyes emerged, his face etched with concern. He moved quickly, his boots crunching on the parched earth. Behind him, medics hurried forward, their faces a blur of professional anxiety. Reyes knelt beside me, his gaze searching. "Soldier. Report." My voice was a dry rasp. "Mission accomplished, Sergeant Major." He studied me for a long moment, then a ghost of a smile touched his lips. He extended a hand, and I took it, letting him help me to my feet. The medics swarmed, their hands gentle as they guided me towards the transport. I resisted, pulling away slightly. "Wait," I croaked. "There's something." I turned back to the cairn, my gaze fixed on the small pile of stones. I walked towards it, each step deliberate. Reaching the cairn, I knelt again, brushing the sand away from the topmost stone. Underneath, nestled in the cool earth, was the canteen. I didn't touch it. "I don't need it anymore," I said, my voice stronger now. Reyes followed me, his expression unreadable. He knelt beside me, his eyes scanning my face. "What do you mean, soldier?" I looked at him, and for the first time, I saw not just a hardened instructor, but a human being, a man who had walked his own deserts. "I found water, Sergeant Major. Not in the ground, but inside." He remained silent, listening. "This wasn't just about survival, was it?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "It was about letting go." Reyes nodded slowly. "Sometimes, soldier, the heaviest burden we carry is the one we refuse to put down." I looked out at the vast expanse of the desert, now bathed in the soft glow of twilight. The silence was profound, broken only by the gentle whisper of the wind. I saw the dunes differently now, not as a symbol of desolation, but as a landscape of possibility, a place where the human spirit could be forged anew. I stood up, feeling a surge of strength I hadn't known I possessed. The medics approached again, their faces filled with concern. This time, I didn't resist. I allowed them to guide me towards the transport, the canteen remaining undisturbed beneath the stones. As the vehicle pulled away, I looked back at the cairn, a small, solitary monument in the vast emptiness. It marked not just the end of a trial, but the beginning of something new. I had faced the desert, and in doing so, I had faced myself. And I had survived. Not just physically, but spiritually. I had found water in the desert, and in doing so, I had found myself. The setting sun cast long shadows, and as the vehicle sped away, the desert seemed to whisper a silent promise that even in the most barren of landscapes, life and hope could still bloom.